If we don't believe that things are going to get better, then we're not going to be motivated to make them better. In my head. Hello everybody, if you're new here, I go for walks and I talk about mental health, and tonight we're going to talk about healing from mental health issues, mental disorders, mental illnesses, all of that stuff. But I do talk about stuff that's going on in my life, and people who watch me regularly know that I go for walks at night and I'm constantly being disturbed in some way. It could be my own paranoia, but there's constantly people who drive by. They drive a little slowly, they come up to where I'm standing and talking. There's just always people around because I'm in the suburbs of Long Island, and it's just hard to find privacy out in the public, even at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So the reason I bring this up was that I was walking to where I'm standing now, and somebody started driving close by, and I was like, okay, they're gonna pass by. So I tried to like move to the side to give them room, and I was doing stuff on my phone, so I just continued on with what I was doing on my phone, and as I'm talking to you, I'm watching other cars like kind of in the area. And so somebody was coming by. It was a group full of what looked to be teenagers or early 20-somethings. I'm 33 myself, and as I mentioned, I went to the side. I'm down like a little small kind of alley here, but it's very well lit. So I noticed like they're slowing down a lot, and they slowed down next to me. So I'm like, okay, they're gonna ask me something. So I made a decision: do I want to ignore them or acknowledge them? So I decided to acknowledge them. I looked. He didn't seem to be saying anything. I could smell weed coming from the car. I took one of my headphones off, my earphones off here, which, by the way, it's very interesting how different it sounds when I take them out, but I'm lazy and I don't take them out. But took one of the earphones out, looked at him, and he just kind of gave me this look like, and I'm like, why are you giving me that look? Like, what am I? You're the one driving slowly by. So either he was purposely trying to antagonize me or something with the weed. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with what weed feels like. I've actually never smoked weed myself. Not that I really care what you do when you watching this. I don't really care what you do, but it was just kind of interesting. Here comes another car. So see, that car just went past me with no issues. So I don't know. Anyway, this is the frustrations I deal with in doing these vlogs. And again, for those that know me, I don't really have privacy at home, so I'm kind of forced to do them out in public. I choose at night because I typically think that I'm going to see less. And here comes another car, so I'm going to move. Okay, so it's not so foggy out tonight, and so I don't know what relevance that has to you. I just get very annoyed. You know, we just had this terror attack in Manchester, which really has nothing to do with me, but to have somebody seemingly antagonize me the next day when I have had things thrown at me from cars. I have been harassed before walking to work, you know, in high school, where people would say, like, you want to get in, you want to ride. People who I don't know. I've had people yell things at me. I've had cars honk at me before. I'm sure this is nothing new to you if you've lived in the suburbs, but having gone through PTSD, these are triggers, and it's not something I appreciate while I'm walking around trying to talk about psychology. Okay, out of the way. I know, like, you're not really here for all of that, but this is my channel, and part of it's getting to know me and my own mental health, so there's that. Here I am. We're talking about healing, so there you go. It's hard to heal from something like PTSD when you are constantly in the triggers that continually trigger you, you know, like just like it would be hard to heal from a phobia if the thing that you're afraid of is always around. You could do it, you can heal while you're in the middle of those situations, but it's incredibly difficult and you oftentimes need guidance from a professional. So let's talk about what healing looks like. I'm noticing the car in the phone. Okay, hopefully it's not too loud. I'm always concerned about how it sounds for you guys. I know, like, I feel bad that, like, I'm in the dark, my sound isn't so great. I know some of you say, like, that's okay, that's real, that's authentic, but I also know for the general casual YouTuber, they're gonna see that and be like, I don't want to watch this, and click off. Whoops, sorry there. So I hit my headphones and shook the phone. Obviously, I'm a little anxious tonight. So let's rewind back to just healing in general. What does healing look like? So some people may hear the word healing and get really frustrated with it because not everybody heals. You know, some disorders, some mental problems that we have are more healable than others. And what do I mean by that? Some conditions, such as schizophrenia, such as bipolar, for the average person with those disorders, healing is not going to be getting rid of that disorder completely. It may be living on medication for most of your life. It may mean having to see a therapist for most of your life, or having to use coping mechanisms for most of your life. And some people will say, well, that's not healing, then you can't be cured. My response to that is that that's a very negative way to look at it, and you know, you can look at it however you want to, but I prefer to think like our aim for healing should be to function the best that we can in our day-to-day life, to find as much to be grateful about as we possibly can, to enjoy life. So not everybody's going to reach like 100%, and I'm not even sure, you know, they say that 1 in 4 people has a mental disorder, but I question how valid that is, because we all have gaps in our personality, gaps in our functioning, that we're not perfect. So, okay, maybe 1 in 4 clinically have a diagnosable mental disorder, but I think it's actually higher. I think we all have issues. So I don't think healing is a 100% perfect thing. I think we all just strive to be the best that we can, is what I'm getting at. I feel like I'm rambling on, so I'm going to move to a new location and we'll talk about this more. Okay, so on the other side of the train tracks, a police officer pulled over a car, so that makes me feel a little nervous. I'm feeling very nervous the entire night. Anxiety, high anxiety. So healing. Some people, healing is going to take a long time. You know, when you have something like a phobia, I had a phobia during the time that my ex was breaking up with me. I mean, I was already kind of aware that I had this phobia of driving, and I believe that phobia came from the ex before my ex hitting me while I was driving my car constantly. So I just had this like general feeling, this general anxiety, and here come more cars. All right, well, I had this general anxiety whenever it came to driving the car, and I had a phobia. Comes another car. This is not my night tonight. So I was seeing our couples therapist, and she mentioned doing some exposure, like self-help exposure. I guess she thought I could handle it, and she was actually correct, because she gave me some tips and I managed it. So many edits this is going to be. She gave me tips, and I got over the phobia. I can now drive moderately comfortably. So that was pretty quick. That only took a couple of months, I would say, before she started like giving me the tips, that I was able to manage it. So smaller things like that. I don't want to minimize. Some people may have a phobia that's much harder to get over, so I don't want to minimize that. But that particular phobia for me was something that I could easily get over pretty quickly. Something a little bit more complicated, like a personality disorder, and I'm sorry, I'm wiping my eyes because something in the air bothers me around here. I always thought it was the wind, but there's not so much wind out tonight, so it must be something around the tree. So here comes that car again. So personality disorder, very often results after, we don't know for sure exactly what causes it. We know temperament probably plays a factor. We know trauma probably plays a factor. And very often trauma occurs in early childhood, whether through neglect or through an abusive parent or whatever. And a personality disorder develops. And what happens, unfortunately, is somebody's personality developing after that kind of an event. That's who they are, that's who they become, that's how they learn to live in the world. And so to heal from that, you have to kind of undo everything that they've been living up in every pattern and way that they've been living up until the point of when they realized this was a problem and they wanted to start healing from it. That has to be undone. I apologize for the noise. And then new patterns have to be replaced. And it's not it sounds kind of simple the way I'm saying it. It's not so simple, because you have emotions that are tied in, you have possibly traumatic memories. It's a complicated thing. It's not something that goes away quickly. I believe I had borderline personality disorder myself, and it took me years to recover from that. And it's interesting, listening every now and then to people talk about borderline personality disorder, I notice in myself, I still have some of that hostility inside of me. My natural reaction when I feel threatened is to feel hostile and want to go and attack. And I believe that's part of the borderline personality disorder that's been inside of me. So even though I say that I'm fully healed, because I believe I am, I don't register for any personality disorder or anything. Here comes another car. I have no idea why everybody is out tonight. Even though I don't register for a personality disorder, I may still have some of those traits kind of lingering in there. And, I work on them when I can, I guess. I'm not even sure that I need to work on them. They may just be the way it is. But it took a long time to heal from, and then I guess, part of it's just going to be my personality. So healing, I don't believe there is a 100% healing from everything. And as I mentioned, some things you're going to need medication for. Bipolar disorder, generally, the theory, as far as I understand, is that there's issues with the neurotransmitters in your nervous system. And so it may be that it's just a biological issue where, medication's needed. Something extra is needed. I just say medication because that's what we've always used in the U.S. culture here, and I believe it's appropriate, that the whole goal of medication is to target things very specifically. And we know it works. We've seen it work played out in many different scenarios, but it may take medication to fix some disorders. Now, with that said, you may have to go through years of until you find the right medication or the right combination of medication. So I just want to make it clear, if somebody doesn't heal, they get on medication, they're like, no, this isn't working, it doesn't feel right, that doesn't mean give up. That there could be other medications to try. If your psychiatrist isn't good, find a new psychiatrist. But my point here is that the medication may be necessary, and that may be what healing looks like for that person. Okay, well, for some reason this Tuesday night is incredibly busy. I've seen 4 cop cars tonight in the span of 40 or so minutes. It's a little bit ridiculous. It's kind of hard for me to find a place to stop. So I don't know how great this video is going to be. I'm going to apologize for that now. So healing. Okay, so I mentioned how different disorders may have different courses of healing. Each person's going to heal a little bit differently. One therapy might work for somebody and may not work for another person. So when it comes to you, my glasses are fogging. If you have a particular disorder and somebody else mentioned something, it's working for them, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You really just kind of have to take the initiative and try and try and try and try. And I know it can get exhausting to try. I know it can get exhausting to keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. But sometimes that's what we have to do. So healing, sometimes healing, I mentioned medication. Sometimes healing looks like coping strategies, resilience as it's called when it's in regards to trauma. And coping strategies could be things like meditation, getting in touch with how you're feeling, expressing your emotions, having good interpersonal skills with people. Like, there's all kinds of different things that you can do, and it's going to depend on your particular situation. So again, this video is not to give you specifics, it's just to give you an idea of what healing can look like. And really what I want to emphasize with this video is that healing looks different for everybody. Everybody has a different way of healing, and everybody's going to heal at different levels, at different lengths of time. And not everybody's gonna have what somebody might think of as a cure or being fully healed. We all just kind of have to live with whatever we have, accept what we have, and take steps forward from there. So healing as a concept, you know, I use the word healing all the time on this channel because I want to have us focused on the positive. I want us to focus on moving forward. You know, I'm a strong believer that if we don't believe that things are going to get better, then we're not going to be motivated to make them better. And the person who is the strongest determiner of what your mental health is going to be like is you. You have the most power and the most control over how your mental health is going to the course of your mental health is going to run. So you have the most ability to step in and say, this is what's going to help me, this is how I'm going to get it. And like I said, I know it's a struggle, I know it's hard, but we can heal. We can heal in our own way. And we're each individual, we each deal with things in our own way. Okay, sorry about that. Somebody walked right past me as I was talking, and then a car came. Like, there's no chance for me to just do this without interruption. So, you know, you see my frustrations here on this channel. Healing, for me, is just dealing with things, coping, you know, living life as it is, accepting that life is the way it is, accepting where I am, and moving forward from there. But I always use the word healing, and a lot of people, it helps to think of it like a journey, to think kind of like expand your mind a little bit here. Like, healing is not what I do today or tomorrow, it's a whole process that goes on for years. And when you think of it long term like that, I don't know, maybe for some of you that's stressful, so I don't want to stress you out, but here comes another car, no turn signal. When you think of it long term, and you widen your view of what healing looks like, maybe you won't get so stressed out by the fact that it's not happening today. And you'll start to get a little bit more patience for, like, okay, well, today sucks, tomorrow's gonna suck, maybe this whole month is gonna suck. I can accept that that's gonna suck and look forward to what's coming. You know, I had to do this myself when I first learned what PTSD was, and I was like in the middle of things. It was horrible. I was starting to get like suicidal ideation. It wasn't good. I know myself, I know that was not a good place for me, and I knew what was coming if I didn't try to cope with it. So I gathered all my resources and I did the best I could, and what helped me was knowing, like, it's gonna suck. This is gonna suck for a couple of months for me. I knew it was gonna be at least a couple of months, and actually some of the advice I was hearing that it could be years about my particular situation that I was in. And I just said, okay, well then it's gonna suck for years, you know. And I'm personally still in the middle of a lot of crap that I'm not happy with, but I still kind of context it in, I'm still healing, I'm still moving forward, I keep going, and every day it gets a little teeny tiny bit better, and I see the accumulation of how it's gotten better, you know. If I want to look at healing in terms of when I first learned that I had borderline personality disorder, you would not even recognize me as a person. I'm a different person today. Just an example, like, I used to be incredibly impulsive. I would have a thought and I would just do it, and I'm sure if other people like saw my personal life, they would think I was like crazy, because I would just impulsively do anything. But I am not impulsive at all anymore. And I think if you knew me now in person, you'd be like, Ryan plans everything out. Ryan's pretty careful about things. So that's one example of, like, long term, that completely changed. If I want to go back even as far as the PTSD, so the borderline personality disorder was like years and years and years ago. I'm talking 2008 or so. The PTSD was 2015. I'm over the PTSD. So that's my experience, and it helps to think long term, you know. If I were to talk to that person who learned what borderline personality disorder was, that person was a mess. That person was crying every night. The person was that person had no resources, did not know anything about mental health. There was no, like, okay, YouTube was out there, but it wasn't what it is today. Here comes another car. YouTube was not what it is today, and I didn't have things. I didn't really have the stuff that I needed, and I just thought my life was forever doomed and it was going to be horrible. But if I could give that person something, I would say start to think about healing. Start to think about where your life is heading and keep that in your mind daily. Remind yourself, okay, it sucks now. Okay, that's fine. It's fine that it sucks now. You're going somewhere. It's going to get better. So I think better is what we should be aiming for. We shouldn't be aiming for cured. We shouldn't be aiming for healed. We should be aiming for better, and that is definitely achievable for everybody. So that is my thoughts on mental health and healing. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You know, maybe you disagree. I know a lot of people out there feel like things are never going to get better. They feel like, and I don't like to hear that because I never believed that. I just fundamentally believe if you believe that, then they're not going to get better because you're not going to be motivated. But let me know what you think about the whole idea of healing. Do you think it's a good term? Do you think it's what we should be using? Leave it down below. We'll discuss it in the community. We'll see what everybody has to say. If you're new here, please subscribe and hit the bell icon because that will give you notifications for all of my videos. I talk about mental health topics Monday through Friday. And as always, thank you everyone for being here with me and for putting up with all the cars and the edits and all the blah tonight. It's just my life. I like to keep it real. Thank you as always, and I'll see you next time.